Due to the majority of students keep failing quadratic equation. Why? Because they are making this one silly mistake in solving quadratic equation. In today's video, I'm going to be showing you how to solve what quadratic equation in a more easier way, so you won't make that mistake that they have been making. So let's go. Follow me to the end of this video. So now we have a quadratic equation. The first thing we should start with whenever we see something of this sort is that it has a format. You understand? For it to be called a quadratic equation is a kind of equation. It's more like a linear equation that the power of the variable, the highest power of the variable is what? 2. You understand? So that has to say something of this sort. So any equation you see that the highest power in that particular equation is what? This. You know that what we're talking about, what? A quadratic equation. You understand? So now let me show you a format of a quadratic equation. So let's say I have ax squared plus bx plus c equals to 0. So this is a format that the quadratic equation look like. You understand? This is a format of what? A quadratic equation. So now, whenever you see a question in quadratic equation, what will come to your mind? There are different ways of solving for what? The quadratic equation. And those ways are called method. You understand? So those methods are, the first method we have what? The factorization method. You have what? The factorization method. You understand? You look for the factors. Then the other method, we call it what? Completing the square method. Then we have the last or the other method we call what? The formula method, which most students often call almighty formula. So let me just write almighty here. So most students always call this what? Using what? The almighty formula. Now, since you now know that we can use all this, then we also have the graphical method. But in today's lesson, what I'm going to focus more on is this what? 3. So we are going to be starting from what? The completing the square method. Then we are going to be using the formula method. Now let me show you how. Do you know that this equation that is here is what you are going to solve to get the almighty formula? Do you know that this equation which is here, which is ax squared plus bx plus c, is what you are going to be solving to get what? The almighty formula. So let me show you how. Now let's go. So if you have something of this sort, now this is how to use what? The completing the square method. So we are using what? Completing the square method first. That's the first method we want to use to solve this. So I have ax squared plus bx plus c is equals to what? 0. Firstly, when you are using completing the square method, you are going to say what? Your ax squared plus what? Bx. You leave the ones carrying x one side, is then equals to what? This one is going to what? Come to this other side. You are going to have what? Minus c. You understand the step? So the first step is to what? Bring this one to the other side. That's bring the constant to the other side. Then you leave the ones that have x to in one side. Then the next thing you are going to be doing is that you are going to do what? Divide all through by what? What is standing with this one here. So if you divide all through by a is going to cancel a. You are going to be left with x squared plus bx over a is equals to minus c over what? A. So from this point, what we are going to be doing is that we are going to look for what? Half square. We call it look for what? Half square of the what? The coefficient of what? Of x. Half square of the coefficient of what? X. So now you know this is x squared, not x. So the coefficient of x is this one particularly, which is what? B over what? A. So we are looking for what? Half of what? The square. Half of what? The square of what? The coefficient of what? X. So that's what we are asked to look for. So what we are going to be doing from this point is that from this place, we are going to say this times this is going to give me b all over what? This times this is going to give me 2a. Everything is inside what? The square. So we are getting the half square. Let's just leave it in this format. So let's continue from here. So now from this place, what we are going to be doing is that we are going to say what? We are going to look for what? The square root of what? This side, and also the square root of what? This side. So when we do that, we are going to be having x plus b over 2a is equals to the square root of b squared minus 4ac over 4a squared. So we have gotten this here. You understand? So the next thing we are going to look at is that if you look at this place very well, if you decide to find the square root of this down number, you are going to get it, because the square root of this 4a here is what? 2a, because 2a times 2a is going to give me 4a squared. So the square root of this 4a squared is what? 2a. So now it means that this 4a squared will leave what? The square root. So I'm going to be having x plus what? B over 2a is then equals to the square root of what? B square minus 4ac is then all over what? 2a, because it has leave what? The square root. So what I'm going to be having here is that since I'm looking for the value of x, my x is now going to be equals to, this one is going to come to this part to make it what? A minus b over what? 2a. You understand? Since because of this square root, we are going to be having a what? A plus minus here, which is positive and negative, all over what? B square minus 4ac over 2a. So from this place, if we look at it very well, we are having what? A common denominator. So from this place, we are going to be having x is then equals to minus b plus minus square root of what? B square minus 4ac all over what? 2a. So with this, we have gotten to what? Our almighty formula. So this is the formula we call almighty formula, and this is what we use mainly to solve for what? The root of what? A quadratic equation. So whenever you are given any question, so this is the formula you are going to be what? Using. And the other method we use just now to find this stuff is called the completing the square method. So whenever you see a question, so now from this point, what you are going to be doing is that you are going to be adding this to what? The both side of what? This equation. So we are going to be having our x square plus b over 2a all square, you understand, is then equals to what? I have what? Now I'm going to be adding this to this part also. So I'm going to be having b over what? 2a all square. Then if I'm adding it to this place, minus plus is still going to be minus c over what? A. You understand? Then this is what I have in this point. So now you are going to wonder, okay, why didn't I put this? Well, the reason why I didn't use this again is because we have used this to get this one particularly. So now remember this completing the square method. So now the next thing you are going to do is that from these points, you are going to say since this is carrying a square, it simply means that x plus b over 2a. Now this thing can be like this because this is carrying a square, this is carrying a square. So I just enclose everything in a bracket and give it just what? 1 square. Is then equals to what? B square, which is going to give me b square over 4a square minus c over what? A. So now if you look at what we have now, I just raised this to the power of 2 and this is what I got. So now from this point, what are you going to be doing? You are going to solve for what? Your right hand side first. So let's solve for this part first. So if we are solving for this part, when we have two fractions, what are we going to do? We'll look for what? The LCM. You understand? So the LCM of this and this is going to give me what? 4a square. Now 4a square divided by 4a square is going to give me 1 times this is going to give me b square. You understand? Then we have what? Our minus this divided by this is going to give me what? See it, 4a square divided by a. So one of the a here will cancel one a here. You are left with what? 4a. So that 4a times this is going to give me 4ac. You understand? So we are getting the value of this part. It then equals to what? X plus b over 2a square. On quadratic equation, you can use this same format that we use here to get what? The answer. What you're just going to be doing is that at the end of this point, you are going to be saying, now our x is then equals to minus b over 2a plus square root of what? B square minus 4ac over 2a. Now this first one, this is the first one. You are going to be using plus in the first one. Then the second one is going to be carrying minus. It's going to be x equals to minus b all over 2a negative square root of what? B square minus 4ac over what? 2a. Over what? 2a. So let's just use just one of the two a's. You understand? Everything is all over. All over. So now if you look at what we have here, we are getting what? The two roots that we normally have in what? A quadratic equation. These are the two roots. So whenever you are solving using completing the square method, these are you are going to solve, and this is what you will what? Amount to. So now let's use this formula that we have gotten to solve what? One question. So let's go. So now, like I said, we are going to be solving a question using what? The almighty formula. So now this what we are going to be doing. I'm just going to be showing you a quick tip. Firstly, we have used what? The completing the square method. We have used it. Now we're talking about what? The almighty formula. So now, this is what you're just going to be doing using the almighty formula. Like I said earlier, I splitted what? The both equations to one to be having plus and one to be having what? A negative. So you're just going to be inputting the value of what? Now the coefficient of this x here, which is 1, is the value of a. So my a is going to be what? 1. My b is going to be what? Minus 3. Then my c is going to be what? My 2. So if you input all these values into this stuff, you are going to be getting what? The root of what? This equation. So whenever you are solving for this, you are just going to be what? Inputting what? The values of what? The coefficient of this and what? This as A, B, and what? C. So I'm not going to be solving this because of our time. You understand? I'm not going to solve this. So what you're just going to be doing is to try it out. You understand? That's why I've given you an outline of what? The numbers, the values you are going to input inside for you to solve it. So now what I'm going to be doing is to what? Go to the last method, which is what? Factorization method. So we are done with this. Let's come to factorization method. So now how do we factorize? So when we have this, which is x squared minus 3x plus 2 is equals to 0, what we are going to be doing is to what? Multiply this. Now let me just use a simple pattern. You multiply this and what? This. So when you multiply this and this, you're going to be getting 2x squared. So what you are going to be looking for now is something that you can multiply that will give you the value here, and you can either add or subtract to get what? The value here. Hope I'm not confusing you. It's very easy, you understand? It is something that you can what? Multiply that you get this, and what? Either add or subtract that you get what? This. Now, what are those values? So if we say 2 times 1 is going to give you 2. 2 plus 1 is going to give you 3, not minus 3. So we need this thing to be in this format. So let's say minus 2 times minus 1 is going to give me what? A positive 2. So minus 2 plus minus 1 is going to give me what? A minus 3. So we are going to be using these values here. We are going to be using 2 and what? Minus 1. So we are going to be inputting this inside the middle term. So from this place, we are going to be having x squared minus 2x minus x plus 2 is equal to what? 0. You understand? So now the next thing we are going to do is what? Factorize this two stuff like this. Let's just break it down like this. So what is common between this and this? X is common. So x bracket x minus 2. You understand? So if you say this times this, you are going to get x squared. This times this, you are going to get minus 2x. You understand? So the next thing you do is say minus 1 bracket x plus what? 2. This times this, you are going to get this. This times this, you are going to get what? This is a negative. This time this, you are going to get what? This. You understand? All equals to what? 0. So that what you are going to notice is that when you are solving, you pick what? This and what? This, which is x minus 1, x minus 2. Now, if you look at what we solve, we are going to be having 2x minus 2. So this one that is inside this bracket, you're going to be having 2 of them. So what you are going to be doing is to just pick what? 1. And anytime you solve, let me just give you a trick. And this is one of the things that most students don't know. Whenever you solve anything concerning factorization method, these two brackets must be having the same thing. If they don't have the same thing, then what you are solving is not working. You understand? That's just a tip for you. You understand? Is n equals to what? 0. So now the next thing you're going to say is that x minus 1 is equal to 0, or x minus 2 is equal to what? 0. So you're going to separate the two of them. So my x is now going to be equal to what? This coming here will be what? A positive 1. Or my x is going to be equal to what? This coming here will be what? A positive 2. So the root of this equation is what? 1 and what? 2. So that's how to solve using what? The factorization method. So successfully, we have completed what? How to solve quadratic equation using what? Completing the square method. I've shown you the format you can use. So you have known already how to use what? Completing the square method. We talked about almighty formula. I gave you a clue on how to do it. And we talked about what? Using what? The factorization method. So this is how to what? Solve whenever you see something of what? This sort. So I'm going to be giving you a question now to solve for me. And this is your question. You're going to solve x squared minus 9x minus 10 is equal to what? 0. So now for me to be sure that you have understand everything that I've explained, you're going to be what? Answering this question for me. Now when you answer the question, I want you to drop your answer in the comment section, and I want you to also drop if you understand this topic very well. If you understand, I want to see yes in the comment section. If you don't understand that much, I want to see what? No. And if you have any question pertaining anything, drop it in the comment section. So now that you have learned quadratic equation, there are some other topics that you also need to learn for you to what? Go for your exam, be it WAEC, JAMB, or you in an underlevel university. You understand? So you also need to learn topics like sets, mapping and function, binomial theory, mathematical induction. I have all of them in my channel page, so you can go now and check them up and watch them. I'll keep on giving you more tips, and this is Azure Mentories. I remain inspired. Goodbye.